okay? My camera, this is on. This is my first time ever doing a Zoom, so bear with me. Let me know in the comments if you guys can see me, if everything's great. Rachel Clark, you're absolutely amazing. So, and also shout out to Rachel Howell for introducing me. Thank you all so much. I have the pleasure of serving as the moderator for today's the changing entertainment landscapes, how COVID is changing the game for creative entrepreneurs. My name is Nio Campbell. I'm a reporter, producer, host, content creator, and I'm just excited to be here to serve on this panel. I want to give a special shout out to my friend Skylar, who works extremely hard, and she is the one that brought me on. I'm a proud Howard University alum. I'm so thankful for everything that Howard has done for me, and I'm excited to introduce the lovely ladies that I get to bring on this panel. So the first person we have today is Carolyn Robinson. She is a marketer, writer, director, and Emmy-nominated producer committed to telling meaningful stories. She has worked for some of the biggest brands in the world, including Coca-Cola, Sprint, in these roles, she oversaw campaigns working with a range of directors such as Francis Lewis, Spike Lee, Errol Morris. Most recently, she led marketing at VH1 and Logo, launching all series, original movies, and documentaries. Several years ago, while working full-time, Caralene expanded beyond marketing campaigns by producing classic documentaries. She fell in love with film. She decided to pursue her passion full-time, beginning with scripted short films such as The Bill. The Bill premiered at more than a dozen festivals, won 3 awards, and is available on Prime Video, so you guys can go and check it out, as well as Quelly TV. Carolene's recent projects include producing digital series Sauce and King Esther, and directing shorts Disorder and Lifeline. King Esther screened at 15 festivals and recently premiered on Issa Rae's Presents YouTube channel. Disorder launches on Prime Video next month, and Lifeline is a festival submission phase. Sauce premieres on Brick TV in March of 2020. So yeah, we've got someone that I'm excited to talk with her. I mean, Howard University, when it comes to entertainment, we have some of the greatest women that has come out of the school. She also graduated as well from NYU. And the next person we have is the lovely Ange, the host of syndicated morning show, The Morning Hustle. We actually went to the same high school, so I got to shout out high school Elizabeth Seton. She is in over 35 markets across the country while hosting her own show. Angie created Working Women Wednesday, featured to highlight women who hustle in various fields, including neuroscience, entrepreneurs, and women in the medicinal marijuana industries. She runs a successful digital media platform called Talk to Sis, and is the founder of AMPD, a successful artist platform designed to amplify the sounds of new artists of all backgrounds and genres on the rise. Angie is the founder of nonprofit College is Cool, which began as an outlet to expose the youth to college experiences and help them create their post-secondary plans. Now she raises money to keep college students enrolled with her last dollar fund. And trust and believe, we need that. She focuses on retention of college students so they can actually get their degree. She's an investor advisor to startup and fintech company Invest Sao and in 1863 Ventures, investor in Hempress Farms and DC Invest, a real estate company. She seeks to be the source of capital for businesses in position of growth. So these bios are stacked. I hope I said everything right, because I'm trying to make sure I say all the great things that you all have done. But it's a pleasure to have you both here, 2 Howard women here for this panel, this conversation. But first, let me just check in. How are you all doing?
Happy to be here. Thank you for that introduction. That was amazing. It just feels so good to be surrounded by Howard love. So thank you for having me.
Definitely.
Absolutely. In these times, it's always good to be around family. It's always good to be able to share conversations and share information, because that's what I've been spending a lot of this time doing, learning so much, exploring different avenues that I really didn't have a lot of time to explore when you're always in the hustle and bustle of your career. So I'm glad to be a part of this. So thank you.
Yeah, this has definitely been a shift. I think if anything, as hustlers, as women that work in entertainment, this is the only thing that could sort of stop us. And I'm pretty sure it probably didn't really stop you. We just had to shift and pivot. So can you guys just talk to me about how you all had to pivot during this time of COVID-19 and this pandemic?
Carlene?
Oh, sure. I'm happy to start. So
Okay.
I think I try not to use the word pivot because it sounds so hard. I try to use evolve.
Ooh, okay.
Right. So I think for me, and I think this is a function of any business, you have to really look at the landscape and really evaluate if your business in its current form and execution is still viable. Basically, so I had to step back and say, is this business viable? And playing in content, if anything, there's more need for content than ever. Even, you know, traditional television ratings are going up, streaming is going up. So there's a need for content. The problem is that I couldn't make it, right? Because all the productions were shut down. So for me, I spent a lot of time working with my pre-existing projects. There were a lot of folks looking to buy and license content for their platforms. And then I spent a lot of time being creative. So those are the two things that I am doing during this time.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of Carlene, and I definitely wrote down evolve, and I hope everybody else did as well, because language is so important in these times. You know, how you use your words and what you say, you know, it affects all energies, all flow. So I love that word, evolve over pivot, and I'm going to stop using pivot moving forward. Thank you, Carlene. For me in radio and being under Reach Media, Radio One, Urban One, you know, we saw a huge shifting because the first thing that happens when COVID hit is for us, we're based on, our revenue is based on advertising. So advertisers immediately began to pull and you didn't know what was about to happen. So the first thing I noticed was furloughs and layoffs. And when you look at, you know, I feel like a lot of major corporations, they're always looking to like restructure. They're always looking at how can they make their business smaller and smaller and get more productivity from people. So COVID is more of an opportunity. I think when you look at a lot of corporations, it's a opportunity to, I think, capitalize on a crisis. And the way that they do that is they begin, first they get rid of everybody they really wanted to get rid of, but it was going to be a process, right? And then after that, they get rid of, or they have to fire or furlough people that maybe they don't want to, but it's what makes sense for them in this moment. And hopefully if things turn around, they'll bring them back. So the first thing I noticed was like a major shift in all of our markets. And then just a lot of uncertainty. And then it became more responsibilities that people were going to have to take on. So where you might be used to being able to have a camera person or this person or that person, now one person got to do multiple jobs. And especially as we went remote, we had to be a lot more creative with how do we create content and distribute content. And with our show, as you see the folks behind me, there's 4 of us. So we're all in this room. Typically we're all together. This time now we're on 4 different locations and we have 2 producers. So a new way of communicating. So it's been a lot of testing out new technology, learning how to edit things that I've never edited, using new softwares that I've never heard of, and reaching out to other people, outsourcing in other ways that you may not have had to do before because everything was kind of in-house. So those have been the biggest transitions from a radio standpoint. And I've just seen a lot of people lose jobs. We had a lot of full-time radio personalities across the country that are now unemployed. And it's not because of performance. It's just, you know, the company wanted to save and hold on to their budget. And then they began to regionalize the talent and syndicate more shows, which was already happening, but now it's at a much faster pace. So now you got our midday person in DC is now in 4 or 5 other markets. And you're seeing that in day parts that traditionally wouldn't have been syndicated, i.e. middays or night shows. And then mornings and afternoons, it's like we're getting more markets. And, you know, that's just how radio is changing right now,
Definitely.
evolving.
And yeah, and speaking of evolving, you know, you think of like you said, some of the shows are becoming syndicated. And then you think of how productions are going to be done, and how Zoom has become the way to really communicate and have these conversations. What do you think this new normal will look like as we evolve? Because that's the word that I want to use throughout this entire conversation.
I think, well, first of all, I mean, the reason why we are gathering this way is because of everything that's happened. So figuring out how to develop a virtual toolkit for your business, or really for you as a brand, is absolutely essential. So how you connect with people is going to be really, really important. I think, and I'm sorry, say that question one more time again. I think I just want to hear it off.
Yeah, how do you think your industry will sort of evolve during this time when the new normal comes?
Yeah, from a production standpoint, productions are going to change significantly. There's going to be a lot more testing protocols, so we still haven't figured all that out, right? So for me, I'm letting the big guys like the studios kind of trip and fall on testing protocol. And then for indie production, I'll see how they do it, and then I'll figure out how to do it. But it's going to raise the cost of an average of a production. And it's also going to take longer, you know, when you talk about like temperature checks and testing and things like that. So that's going to change. But I do think that it's a good time to be creative. I think for many reasons, people are actively looking for diverse stories and diverse content. It's actually a mandate now, right? Because this has kind of been I call it the 1-2 punch. It's Rona and racism, right? So as a function of that, right, I think people are actually looking for our stories. And so I think there's a real opportunity there.
Absolutely. You see LeBron James, he just got $100 million to create his own media empire. And it's specifically focused on being able to tell stories that don't often get told. And it's specifically focused for creatives, Black creatives, to be able to tell their stories unapologetically without boundaries. So I think that's definitely a great opportunity, especially for all the independent creators out there, because even for him with $100 million budget, there's going to be probably an expectation that he pumps out a lot of content. And I'm pretty sure just him and his team are not the only ones that, you know, I'm pretty sure he's going to need more content. So yeah. I think
everyone's getting, if you follow the trades, so many people are getting first look deals, hired to direct feature. A lot of people are getting opportunity right now. So this is actually a good time to be kind of putting yourself out there in the space.
Absolutely. I think opportunity is here if you can see it, if you can find it. It's all in mindset. Just as we're changing words and using evolve, like you might need to evolve your mindset as well. And I know it's hard to do, especially when you're bombarded with so many images and so many stories and so much news, and every day there's a different name trending or a different hashtag trending, or we're angry about this or we're upset about that. But in all of that, there is also so much, I see at least, an abundance of opportunity as far as radio is concerned. New norm, as Caralene said, I think it's hard to talk about a new norm because we're not there yet. Everyone is still trying to figure it out. Everyone's still trying to, right now it's just adjust and maintain. You're trying to like keep going what you had to the best of your ability. After that, when things do calm down, or if they do calm down at some point, or there's a vaccine or proper treatment or whatever, then you might see a change. So I don't really know what the new norm is, but I will say radio for the longest has been getting smaller and smaller. I don't see that changing. And I think these are just more opportunities for them to continue to cut the fat. And a lot of times that starts with talent. So being able to diversify your talents is going to be extremely important. And I think that's the same in digital media or anything else. Your ability to be able to do multiple jobs, not just be, don't just be the radio person. You got to be able to produce. You got to be able to edit. You got to be able to write. Direct, like being able to have as much in your arsenal as possible when you go out here and pitch yourself. And because you might not, maybe you don't get your project greenlit, but maybe you can help produce another project. Maybe you can help shoot another project or help in other ways. So the more skills you can develop, the better the opportunities will be, but they are getting much smaller, much more limited in the radio world.
Yeah, and even like going, tackling on to like building skills and using this time, because it is very interesting that this is a time where it's almost like people didn't realize that we existed before. It's like, oh, now we got to shout out Black people. Oh, now we want Black people to exist.
Who knew?
Be back.
Who would have thought that we had talent, right? Who would have thought? So, I mean, I guess like at this time that we know, with this mindset of people now finally recognizing us after all these years, and they want more of us, what advice can you give to those creatives to really take advantage of this time, even though it is a time of uncertainty and we don't know what is next?
So I want to say, Angie, I'm stealing a just and maintain. I love that. So I'm taking that.
All right.
I think well, a couple of things. One is this is a great time to actually, to Angie's point about I call it slashes, like having multiple skill sets. We need to be working on our slashes, right? So this is a great time. There's been a lot of free webinars and resources out there, a lot of free classes. Sundance offered their entire kind of class series for free. Sundance, like a lot of people are giving away stuff now. So this is a great time to learn and just absorb free information. So I would highly recommend that everyone join your category trade organizations, join your women's groups, because it's just a lot. And also a lot of people have free time. So a lot of people you would normally not have access to, you know, directors, people who are running studios, they actually have time. And they're doing panels and they're responding to, you know, DMs. I know. So I would say, take this time to learn, and also take this time to to try to put yourself out there from a social perspective, and also just build relationships. And it doesn't necessarily have to be where you're actively trying to create a selling relationship. It could just be, you know what, I just wanted to open the lines of communication, you know, with the hopes of, you know, possibly collaborating in the future. This is a great time for that. And a lot of people are actually responding.
Totally. I know on my end, I've had a lot more time to work on collaboration as well. Being able to look at other people's platforms. Hey, you're doing this over here. I'm doing this over here. Let's see if we can bring it together. And a lot of that definitely starts with your relationships and relationship building. I think especially for college students and young people, we tend to think that because I met you or because you responded, that now we in a relationship. Now you know me and we're in business together, and that's not how it works. There are a lot of relationships in business I don't do or haven't done, or it's been years. I do multiple pitch competitions where I watch different pitches via 1863 Ventures, and one of the investments you talked about, which is Invest Susu. She's a Howard University alum. Fonta Gilliam, look out for her. But Invest Susu is her company. I've been following her company and talking to her for maybe like 2 or 3 years before we actually got to a point of saying, okay, now you're ready now we're ready to work together, collaborate. There's some people that I've been talking to when we did the Talk to Sis platform. That's a man I met, Morehouse graduate in Atlanta. Pops, he had a great platform, Talk to Pops. We have been talking for months before we ever got into a space to say, okay, let's move into this. So just know, as you're building your relationships, I absolutely agree. Just the initial conversations, those aren't confirmations of anything, but sometimes it's just good to get it going, good to let them know who you are, and following up, being consistent, offering where you see that they may be lacking in some places. And I always look at opportunity like, what do I have that you might need? How can I make myself valuable to people? And then looking at a collaboration, a partnership. So yeah, I've had a lot more time to analyze and do due diligence on things, which has opened up many more opportunities for me to get on and collab with people and keep expanding my platform, my digital platform, because I'm not good at social media. That's not my thing. So I had to find people who are really good at it and really into it and already successful and say, okay, you're already here, I'm over here, together we can get even higher. And so that's what this time has afforded me. So I think that's something I would recommend to people, is look at who else can you collaborate with. It won't always be, you probably shouldn't always shoot up for Issa Rae. Maybe it's someone within your own cluster, that you start to build relationships and work with, in addition to reaching out to your Issa Raes.
And to your point, Angie, the Issa Rae relationship that we developed for our digital series, King Esther, which is nominated for 4 Emmys right now. That was a 2-year thing. That was a 2-year. Hey, just letting you know what I'm working on. Hey,
Yep.
It took 2 years to actually get them to actually acquire the project. So that's the way this stuff works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah. To really have these relationships and collaborations. And then I'm trying to take in everything. So make sure that you guys are putting it in the chat as well, because I'm going to look back over this and read everything that's happening. But taking in, working on your slashes, collaborations, the relationships that you can build, it has been very pivotal during this time. I know for me, I was kind of going through a place where I was just like, what am I going to do? And I started my own series on an IG live series. And from there, I was able to form relationships and check in with people that I, had different conversations with. So I think that's just very important to do that. And then something else that you mentioned was supporting businesses, and working with small businesses has become something that's really important. Supporting Black-owned businesses. You're seeing even on Instagram now, they have a tab where how you can support Black-owned businesses. Things that should have been done a while ago, but it's fine. Just noticing that there's Black-owned businesses, but it's okay. But how can we, during this pandemic, how have you encouraged others to be mindful of their investments when supporting these various businesses?
Well, I was doing that before. I was supporting Black-owned businesses and, in investing before. So for me, starting my own business was not just about starting a business. I wanted the creative space to tell stories about us and a broader spectrum of stories. And I wanted to talk about things like, LGBTQIA stories, mental illness in our community. And so as a function of that, because a few years ago, there wasn't really a lot of appetite for that, I just started doing it on my own. And so supporting, Black filmmakers, writers, directors, stories. A lot of the work I do is on Black-owned streaming providers. There's a lot of Black streaming platforms out there that perhaps a lot of people don't know about. So, the whole, kind of production journey for me, from creating to actually distributing, I try to make sure it's as Black as possible.
Absolutely. I know on my end, again, radio is a great amplifier. So that's what Working Woman Wednesday was all about. My platform, of course, is education first, but as I've grown, it has moved into business and supporting entrepreneurs. Because I like to support. I come from an investment standpoint. I believe in creators and creatives, and I love to support them and provide capital. And sometimes that's financial capital, sometimes that's sweat equity, sometimes that's social capital. So I always use the radio platform. That's what Working Woman Wednesday was about, was an opportunity to bring women up to tell their stories, to be able to talk about their businesses, and so that we could find them. Because I think we're noticing now it's a lot better. Nio, like you said, they're creating specific, like, okay, here's a directory you can go to, or we've seen a few directories, but now it's being amplified even more. But I noticed that people always want to support, but sometimes they're like, well, what do I support? And who do I support? And how do I support this person? And sometimes radio allows you to learn about new businesses that you may not have seen on social media. So I'd say the latest was Southwest Soda Pop Shop down on the wharf. They were in a very expensive location. Of course, being hit by COVID was not a good look for them. And then I managed to get them on the air and talk as soon as they were able to reopen to a certain capacity. and they were able to get some good media push, and now business is booming, and hopefully they can sustain. They didn't get the PPP loans and things of that nature. So from a radio standpoint, we've been able to highlight that and have those conversations. I also brought up the fact that of PPP loans, Black businesses were getting anywhere near the money that they should be getting. Of all the Black businesses that are out here and this huge fund that they had, so many Black businesses, small and large, that didn't. And then we were able to highlight the fact that you got a Ruth's Chris who got that PPP loan and they gave it back, or Shake Shack, they got it and gave it back. So just kind of highlighting those things and bringing that to the masses and to the attention, and then directing people to here are specific businesses or here are specific directories that are really good, and even bringing that up and to celebrities that we talked to. We talked to Kelly Rowland, and I asked her about, Black businesses she's been trying to support, and that led us to Buy Black, like the whole social media page, which is about buying Black. So, again, radio is a great opportunity and outlet to bring awareness. So that's something that we've always, as we said, we've always been doing it, but definitely to a heightened space now. And I think we can continue retweeting people's businesses. I've seen so many great pictures of my uncle owns this food spot, and they got pictures of his food. They made me go find. I done went to a couple spots around the Maryland area that I was like, oh, I didn't know this was here. So social media has definitely been helpful for that as well.
Definitely. And I want to make sure, I just got like a text saying that we have like 3 minutes left, and I want to make sure I see some questions in here, and I want to get to them.
Okay.
Again, it's my first time using Zoom, so I don't know if the questions appear on the screen. Okay, I guess they don't, so I'm still gonna have to read them. Okay, so this is going back to the slashes. I saw like in the comments somebody was asking like, what are slashes? And what was discussed earlier was just working on your slashes, how you can become a host, producer, right? Like this is the different things that you can work on during this time, and those are slashes. But the question that I see here is, if you're trying to be a jack of all trades, any tips for not stretching yourself too thin and actually deep diving into multiple interests? That's very key, because as Black women, we are a jack of all trades. We can literally do everything. And oftentimes we can stretch ourselves very, very thin. So do you guys know how to, prevent yourself from doing that? Is that something that you've done?
Yeah, that's a great question. We do often stretch ourselves too thin. If I turn my camera around, I'd show you a flip chart with a list of like 100 things. And what I try to do is prioritize. And I think you have to do that on a regular basis. I usually do that going into a week. So what are the most important things that you need to accomplish in a given day? And based on what your goals are. So whether it's to make you happy or whether it's to push your business forward, but you really do have to rank. And in some cases, I have to either temporarily kind of put things to the side or let them go while I pursue, something else. One is obviously the priority of keeping a roof over my head. But then, kind of what are the other things, like I'm working on about 6 creative projects right now, and I have to balance them. So I think you have to constantly kind of rejuggle just to make sure you're not stretching yourself too thin.
Absolutely. I'll piggyback off of that. One of my mentors, Miss Tia Smith, she's a television producer for TV One, multiple outlets, but she posted something really important that hit me. And it said, your inability to outsource is causing you to struggle in your business. And she said, you can quickly lose focus when it comes to your zone of genius. So I know we're talking about being a jack of all trades, but you got to master something first. So she speaks to your zone of genius is basically the area in which you shine effortlessly. It's your calling. So if you're a painter, but you're killing yourself every week to complete admin tasks, you'd be losing focus when it comes to your zone of creating your art. So for anybody out there that's struggling with this whole, I feel like I have to be a jack of all trades. No, I need you to master one thing first. So like try to master something. Out of mastering that, you'll find that you're going to be really good at other things, and looking to delegate will help. but know your strengths and know your weaknesses. I know my strengths and weaknesses, and I always play to my strengths, and I have other people that I look to help me build up on my weaknesses. So don't think that you got to know everything. Is there one thing that you just naturally gravitate to, that you're naturally just really, really good at? It's effortless, whatever that is. Zone in on it and keep with that, and you'll find that you'll have all these other things to explore in time.
And I agree with what Angie said. The way that was explained to me is that a true leader knows what they know and what they don't know,
right?
What they're good at and what they're not good at, right?
Absolutely.
And as such, the things that you don't know and are not good at, you figure out alternate ways to access those types of skills and knowledge.
Yes.
Definitely. I want to thank you all both, because I see that we've run a little bit over time. But this live, I guess it is a live, it's a Zoom webinar. But this will be saved so you all can go back and see it. I'm going through the comments just from everything happening. Adjust and maintain, evolve, the slashes. There's so much that was discussed here. And how can people reach out to you? Because like you said, this is a time where you can reach out to people.
Yeah.
So how can people go and follow you and support you in all that you're doing?
You can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm at it's Caralene, so ITS in my first name, and that's how people can find me.
Awesome.
It is. I'm at Go Angie on the gram, all one word. Just Go Angie, because I'm always, it's like go Angie. That's how I encourage myself. So it helps me when people say, go Angie, you got it. So at Go Angie, and you'll see all my other platforms on there that I'm building out, AMP DMV, and Talk to Sis. And yeah, you can reach out. I can't guarantee a response, but with consistency, anything is possible. You might have to drop a comment, maybe like leave a comment, and I see those before DM. I stay away from DMs because I think DMs are very dangerous.
Very. Those requests, you got to be careful about that.
You got to be careful.
Yeah. But make sure you guys go out and you, everyone watching, that you go out and you support, that you watch this. I want to thank you ladies for being leaders in this entertainment industry, for paving the way for us, for speaking, for taking the time to speak to us today, because this is a crazy time, but I found myself being extremely busy. I found myself, I have another Zoom call. I have another live. I'm like, how did I get busy during this time of quarantine and pandemic? So thank you all for taking this time to speak, and how we're going to evolve.
And just breathe through it. You got to breathe through it. I'll never forget when I graduated from Howard in 2006. The very next year, Oprah Winfrey comes up and does the commencement speech. I was like, dang, why couldn't she do it my year? But 2007, she comes and gives the commencement speech. I rush up to the yard to hear her speak. And I'll never forget, she gave me the best advice. She was just like, it's going to be okay. And in that moment, I needed it, because I was doing like overnights, and again, radio is very uncertain. You don't know if you're going to get a full-time job. Some people work their whole life and never get on. So I didn't know what was coming. I had all these goals, and I didn't know what to do. And she, in her true Oprah self, just was like, it's going to be okay. And that's what she would tell her younger self. So to everybody out there, if you're stressing about, what's next, because you don't know the answer, like, just keep breathing through it. It's going to be okay. And sure enough, it was okay. And I'm still in the game all these years later. So
all these years later,
it's all good and evolving. And I'm continuing to evolve, and we'll evolve through this as well.
Yes, definitely. Carolyn, did you have anything else that you wanted to say? One last word?
I would just say that, this, and I think I heard Jewel mention something in the previous panel. There's a lot going on right now. We're all processing various types of trauma. And so make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you try to find joy. I know sometimes it's difficult. And as it relates to your business at this time, and relating to your consumers, try to be supportive, try to be compassionate, and try to be informative as it relates to your consumers. But thank you, Nayo, you were great. Thank you so much.
It's good to see you, Nayo.
Yes, thank you. It's great to see you all. Continue to stay safe. And everyone, we're going to take a final 10-minute break before featuring music from DJ C. Devon before we begin our last session, a special masterclass with James Ray. All right. Thank you all. Carolyn and Angie, thank you all again.
Bye.